Hello students, I'd like to welcome you to this presentation of the paintings of Vasilly Kandinsky. You may see his name spelled with a W as Wassily, and you may see it spelled with a V, Vasily. If you were in Russia, they would say Wassily, so the V is pronounced with a W, if that makes any sense at all. But you can just say Vasilly Kandinsky, okay? All right, so let's get into this. Here is a picture of Vasilly Kandinsky. You can see he lived from 1866 to 1944. He died in France. And he lived a very interesting life. He is thought of, or people call him, the father of abstract art. And abstract art sort of means that it's art that doesn't have anything in it that we would sort of recognize. So you won't see any bowls of fruit or people riding horses in something that's truly abstract, because there's nothing in an abstract work that we would easily recognize. So when Kandinsky started, he wasn't an artist. He was always thought of to be very smart. And when he grew up, he went to college and he studied economics and law. And no sooner than he was out of college did they offered him a teaching position. So he had this teaching job as a law professor in a very nice college. And at about the age of 30, he thought, I'd like to start painting. So he started painting at about the age of 30. And he made these sort of very interesting paintings, and you can see here that this isn't at all abstract. It's you can see sort of a lake and some people walking around and a road and some trees and the sky, things that we would recognize. So this isn't abstract art yet. And he did this for some time. He made several paintings to the point where he decided he really liked being an artist. Now, the thing was, you have to think about this. There's not a lot of money to be made being an artist in comparison to money being made when you are a lawyer or a teacher at a university. So he had quite a problem on his hands. He wanted to do one thing, but he was really good at doing another thing, and that's something that happens to a lot of people. But after a while, you can see he's sort of starting to depart, to go away from things that are realistic looking. It's starting not to look so real anymore. And he really sort of enjoyed this idea of doing something that nobody else has thought of. And he considered that to be part of his originality. And he wanted to seem just as smart as an artist as he was as a lawyer or an economist. So Kandinsky had a pretty tough road ahead of him. Now, in and about that time, about 1906 or so, we're not exactly sure of the date, he goes to the Louvre Museum in France, in Paris. And there he sees this very Monet painting. And he looks at it and he's like, what is this? Now, we can see there it says it's Wheatstacks. And to you and I, this is just hay. This is just a pile of hay. That's all it is, a pile of hay. And Monet had this Claude Monet had this idea that he should paint these same stacks of hay over and over and over again all throughout the year, in the summertime, in the wintertime, in the morning, in the evening, in the rain. He painted it over and over and over again. And there's poor our artist is, he's sitting there looking at these haystacks, and he's thinking to himself, what is this thing? I've never seen anything like this before. These must be the houses of the people that live here. And so he asked the guy that was guarding the photographs, what is this? And he says, it's haystacks. And he had never seen hay piled up like this before. And he thought for a little while that it was kind of unfair. He thought, well, this is wrong. You can't paint something that nobody knows what it is. And after he realized that that's exactly what Monet did do and could do, he thought, well, why do I have to even paint anything that looks real? Do I have to show anything that we recognize? Why can't I just paint something that has never been seen before? And that's where he sort of started his idea. So, here you kind of are starting to see Kandinsky moving away from realism. And you can sort of see faces and bodies, and I see like a horse, and I see a girl in a dress, and you look through there, and I think probably if you sat and look at this, you could probably find all kinds of things in there. But still, even though it's kind of mixed up, very colorful, but it's still sort of mixed up, it's still kind of hard to see what it is, but yet you still see there are things there that we recognize. And I invite you now to look carefully at this painting and tell me what you think. Do you see things in there, but at the same time, it's not quite what you'd see in real life, but still, I recognize this thing or that thing. And like I said, I see a girl in a dress. I think I see a fox, and I think I see a horse, and looks like a girl whose hair is sort of flying in the wind, and all manner of things that we can see in this painting, but still we know what they are. Uh-oh. Okay. I think he's done it. He's totally left reality. None of this is anything that we would recognize. It's nothing from our world. I think maybe if you looked at it for a long time, maybe you could see some things, but you would really have to work hard to prove it to anybody else. And what's good about this is that this artwork becomes your experience. Whatever you look at and see will be different from what I look at and see. And this is what Kandinsky thought art should be. That it should be for every person to look at and understand on their own. After a while, Kandinsky got the idea that he could turn music into visual art. He would think that composers put notes together, and he should put shapes and colors together, and that his artwork was almost like looking at music. I know that may be a little difficult to understand, but once again, it gets to that place where you say to yourself, what is this thing that we call art? How do I see it? And should I see art the same way my teacher sees art? Should I see art the same way the person sitting next to me in class sees art? Or should it be something that it means something to me personally? Wow. It's just fantastic. There's so much going on there that you could see movement if you wanted to. You could see all manner of color, shapes, forms. You could probably convince yourself that there are things there that you recognize. I knew a person once that was sure that that sort of round shape, almost in the center, was a ship. And once again, we have a bunch of shapes and colors that make things look very, it makes a person want to think. It's the sort of thing that you can't just walk by in a museum. You have to sit down on the bench and look at it for a while. And students, if I could give you one thing about art, it's more than just a pretty picture some days. It's more than just what it says at the bottom on that little card. You know, on the bottom of the little card, there's some description of what the painting should be. And that artist is saying it should be the same for everyone. But if you look at this, it says swinging. Do you see a swing? So, what do you think? When we look at this painting, which, by the way, is going to be a lot like your future assignment, what do you see? What's your experience when you look at this? And from now on, when you look at art, are you going to take a lesson from Kandinsky and say, maybe this should be the way I see it instead of the way someone wants me to see it? I don't know. He was a pretty smart man. He died in 1944 in Paris, and he had a pretty hard time with the Nazis toward the end of World War II, and he didn't make it through the war, so it's sort of sad. But at the same time, he left us so much, and I hope that you enjoyed looking at this with me today. Okay, see you later. Bye.